Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts, and thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it on this Tuesday, February 23rd, 2021. And as I was just talking with my guest pre-show, it's crazy to think that it's been basically a year for most people of being in this lockdown pandemic COVID situation. I had a reminder on social media just yesterday that it was a year ago that I covered my last event as Eclectic Arts, and I'm like, gosh, has it really been a full year? And that's, yeah, but I've been really fortunate to have a silver lining by being able to start doing virtual interviews last year, and I plan on continuing them into the foreseeable future, until things start changing, and there'll be some sort of crisscross between virtual interviews and in-person interviews, which and covering shows again, which I'm dying to do. But yeah, hopefully you're all doing well out there. And I just want to kind of mention a few housekeeping things before we get to our interview today. I always forget to do this, so let me change this real quick. And yeah, thank you for anyone that's joining. I see someone's here on YouTube right now checking things out, so that's awesome. Coming up this Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here on the West Coast, I have Magnus Carlsen, who is a guitarist extraordinaire, and he has a project called Heart Healer, where he has done a heavy metal opera with a lot of female symphonic metal talent. And that album is incredible. And I'm going to be having the very fortunate chance to talk to him about it on Thursday. And so that's going to be in the morning. And for some reason, and I completely understand if you can't catch it in real time, that it will always be on my YouTube channel, and it will be on my Facebook page as well, so you can see it at your convenience. And then we leave the music world for a little bit, and on Monday, March 1st, I have a new symposium, which is going to be a film symposium, film as in movies and cinema. And I kind of had this crazy idea to try to get 3 directors together from 3 different countries that I had interviewed previously, because I thought they might get along well, and it would be kind of interesting to kind of talk and hear about the whole film world that they're a part of. And somehow on paper, it's come together. So scheduled for Monday, March 1st, which will be 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I have a film director coming from Germany, which it'll be like 10 p.m. his time on Monday. I have a film director from Australia, which will be 8 a.m. on Tuesday for him. And then I have a film director from New Zealand, which it'll be 10 a.m. on Tuesday for him. And I also have a film director from here in the United States that will be joining us as well. And there's a slight chance that we'll be having a director from Scotland join us, which would be Monday night for him. So that's going to be on March 1st. That's how I'm kicking off March, with going back to the film world. And that's going to be, I think, just really interesting and eye-opening. And I can't wait to be a fly on the wall and listen to those guys talk shop about film. And then I have Sydney Sherwood coming back on March 3rd, which is Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Her EP Headspace drops on this Saturday, which happens to be her birthday, the 27th. So we're going to dive right into all the tracks on that EP. And if you saw Sydney's appearances before, she's really, really transparent and authentic. And I love talking to her. And we're going to be diving into her music even more so on the 3rd. And anything else that happens in between, if you follow me as Eclectic Arts Media, one word, on Instagram, that's where I post everything first, and then it migrates over eventually to Facebook. And then those are kind of the main 2 platforms that I use. I know there's all kinds of other social media platforms out there that I'm just an old man. I haven't bothered looking into some of these things. But anyway, that's how things work. And before we get to my guest, I do want to make mention that I should change this banner real quick. If you feel so inclined to make a tip or a donation, the service that I use is not free, and so I get charged for it every month. So if you feel so inclined, and only if you're in a position to do so, I completely understand if you're not. But if you are, tips always help me, and the PayPal link is in my YouTube description for every video that I have. It's also in the description on the Facebook page if you're watching any videos. So if you're like, what was that link again? You can always find it there. So again, I appreciate any kind of support. Taking this off. Okay. My guest today is a well-known musician as a solo artist and as a member of Heaven Below and the Iron Maidens. She has gained a legion of fans. Please welcome to the Eclectic Arts Virtual Studio, Nikki Stringfield.
What's up, everybody? Hello.
Hi, Nikki. How are you?
I'm great. Happy to be here.
But yeah, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. This is going to be a lot of fun for me.
Oh yeah. Look, I've been looking forward to it.
Cool. And yeah, I should also mention, just as a side note, I really appreciate the fact that you shared and posted about this interview.
Of course, I'm all about the social media.
Yeah, I really, really appreciate it, because it's always kind of curious to me when people don't. I'm kind of like, well, don't you want your fans to know that you're doing something?
It's like, well, what's the point then? If you're not going to promote your stuff,
Yeah,
it makes sense.
yeah, it's kind of like, huh? But I'm like, okay, well, if you're not going to do that, you don't. But again, in your case, you jumped right on it, actually last week. So it was great to see all those kind of things. I really appreciate that.
Oh, of course. Of course.
And I see Hi Industrial Girl. Good to see you. She's down in East LA, and some other folks are joining from Facebook and YouTube. I see as well, so that's cool. Um, so Nikki, we were talking about this right before we went live. Heaven Below had a live gig over the weekend. So can you please talk about that and help all of us feel like we're back in that world again?
Yeah, for like one night, things kind of felt a little normal. Well, I guess actually, a day and a half, because we drove from LA to Tucson. So that, had the whole road trip. So that was fun. It was totally socially distanced. I know a lot of people were like, "Yeah, you're really getting out and playing a show." Everybody was wearing masks. It was a big venue. I believe the capacity was over 1,000, but they were only letting in like 150 people. And there were tables. So you buy tickets by the table. So everybody at your table. And, everybody's wearing masks when they get up. When they're seated, they can take it off, enjoy the show. So it was totally safe. It's still strange to me to play when people are seated, which I've done that several times with the Iron Maidens at theaters and stuff, but it's a great start. People were still so happy to just be seeing live music. And we played with a friend of ours called the Jack. It's a AC/DC tribute band, and the Maidens usually play with them when we go to Arizona. And so for this was like the first time I actually got to sit and enjoy their show. So it felt amazing to just be able to have a few drinks and watch a live band too. So I got to enjoy that, which it's been about a year for me too. So, oh, it was fun. It's a start.
Yeah, no, that's very much a start, and that's awesome that you got to perform, and then, as you said, also got to be a spectator, a fan.
Yes, finally. You don't get to do that often anymore.
Yeah, and we all know that there's just no replicating the in-person live experience.
No,
All the live streams are great. It's the best that we can do right now, but that will never replace physically being there.
exactly. Because I've done several of the live streams now, and it's, you're like, there's no audience interaction. And that's what, as an artist, you really feed off of. That's what makes the gig, is seeing the people enjoy it and feeding off their energy. So I love doing the live streams, but nothing beats that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's that whole, like you just said, it's that whole exchange of energy from the band to the audience, and then back to the band, and just kind of works its way up, and then it just explodes, and everyone has a great time.
Yeah.
And I know one of the guests I was talking to, she started doing live streams, I think, in the fall, and she's a solo artist and plays piano and sings. And she was saying it was so strange. The first live stream she did, she'd finish a song, and she was like, I don't know what to do, because there's nothing. There's just, people making comments. That was it.
Yeah. It's like,
So,
in the Maidens, Kirsten, our vocalist, is always like, "Scream for me," wherever we are. And then it's like, so she's like, "Scream for me," and then it's just dead silence. So it's definitely taken some getting used to. I think we've done three of the live stream things now, so it's always just kind of funny.
that is funny. It's got to be scream for me from home.
And we did one where the audience was actually outside in Long Beach, and we were broadcasting from on the stage inside to the audience at their tables outside. And they'd asked us to not say "Scream for me, Long Beach," because they didn't want everybody to be too loud outside. So we're like, she's like, "Well, that's like the catchphrase for Iron Maiden. Well, what do you say?" So it's like, "Whisper for me, Long Beach." I don't know. So yeah, it's just like crickets.
Oh my gosh, that's that's funny.
Yeah.
I never would have thought about that. Yeah, what's the alternative to not screaming for Long Beach or screaming for any city that you're in? Like, yeah,
Oh, that was a first.
can you just say your city?
Yeah. Can you just say it, speak it? Please?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's such a bizarre world we're in.
It, yeah, it really is. We're still getting used to it, I think.
Yeah, and like we were talking pre-show, there has been some silver linings that people have had some time to work on other things, or if you're around your pets, you have some time and quality time there,
Yeah,
and potentially with your partner or anybody else. But at the same time, it's like we're giving other things up for that, and it wasn't our choice.
exactly. Miss traveling so much. I've made so many friends around the world from that. It's just it's weird not seeing anybody. It's weird not seeing my bandmates. It's weird not being able to see my family, my grandparents as much when I go home. It's so weird, but at the same time, like you said, it's been productive at home getting to actually work on music that I would never get the time to otherwise because we're usually so busy. But you should make the most of it.
Yeah, that's all you can do, and I do feel that the artists like yourself that have been constantly working on things and also staying relevant during this time, it is
Yeah.
going to pay off because you're gaining new fans virtually who, when you come to town, if it's with the Maidens or with Heaven Below or any other thing that you have going on, they can say, oh yeah, I saw her thing. It could be an interview, it could be a part of a live stream, and I want to go see her live.
Right. That's I've had some friends in the past be like, "Oh, let's just kind of go dark on social media. Let's not post anything. Let's let people wonder what we're doing." And I was always, I've done social media for some of my jobs before and I'm like, you can't do that because people will forget and people, especially right now, they really want new music. It's kind of what's helping people get through. I know music helps me get through, or it's helped me get through everything in my life. So we've just been trying to stay as busy as possible and release. We've been doing a lot of acoustic things, and that's kind of out of my wheelhouse. And that's helped me as an artist grow. And we've just been trying to branch out and put out as much content as we can to stay relevant, to not have people forget about us because we can't go out and play.
Yeah, and I think again, I think you're right in that mindset of doing that, and I think it's perfectly fine if you need like a small break. Everyone needs a break from some of the craziness of it. But if your break becomes many months, then it's like you'll just kind of disappear,
Yeah,
and then someone else will take your place.
exactly. There's so many amazing artists on the internet, and you can get lost in the sea of people easily.
Yeah, and even from the press side, I know that it's like when all of this happened and everything shut down last March, it was like, so what am I going to do to keep things out there and keep things relevant? I worked too hard to have this disappear, and I just got incredibly lucky that this band from Los Angeles called Alice wanted me to open their virtual tour in May, and I'd never done any of this kind of stuff prior ever.
Yeah.
And they're like, Mark, we want to have you can invite any guests that you want. You'll have 30 minutes. I'm like, how is this going to work? I don't understand this. It's just like if we're actually going on a tour, like a brick and mortar tour, instead of an opening band, you will open. And I'm like, okay, it sounds interesting.
All right.
Yeah, and it went from that and it turned into I think we did 59 shows last year on that virtual tour.
That's really neat.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I'm so grateful. Had they not invited me to do that, I probably wouldn't be here with you right now doing this.
I'm glad they did.
That makes two of us.
Yeah, adapting and finding, like I said, finding new things. I never really did a lot of these live streams until just kind of recently. I'm like, why not? I'm at home, chat, meet new people, since we're not out meeting new people in the real world. So
Yeah, no, exactly, and it's kind of cool that some of the guests that I have interviewed, sometimes they've had something new that they wanted to promote. They came back on, and something that had nothing to promote. They just want to kind of come back on and just kind of talk and update what they're doing.
yeah,
And I can't wait to actually meet them in person now that I've talked to them for 2 hours virtually or something.
exactly.
So Yeah, I'm sure you're going to have all kinds of, again, new folks that are going to be showing up to your shows and things once, things go back to where you can actually be on the stage and fans can be there. And they're going to say, yeah, I saw this, I saw that. And now I finally get to see you either again or I get to see you for the first time.
Yeah.
Live.
Like, oh, you're a real life human. You're not just in my phone. You're not just on my screen. You're there. Totally.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of lot of hugs, a lot of like tear shedding going on when we're fully back to tours.
Yeah, just being able to hug. I'm a hugger. It's like, okay, even the guys in Heaven Below were just kind of like, let's do the elbow bump or whatever. But then it's just strange. It's so weird.
Yeah, I remember, who was it? There was somebody like last spring that I saw out in public, and they went to shake my hand, and then they were kind of realized. I thought, oh, then it was all awkward then.
I know. It's like, elbow bump, or then it's like, well, you want to do the hug? Like, even with my family, I'm like, do you want to hug? Just hug. It's like, give me a hug.
Yeah, no, it's that, and we'll get back there. We'll get back to that point some point, hopefully some point this year, and at the very worst, early next year.
That's so weird to think that we are a year later after this has started, and we're still thinking, okay, maybe next year. Whew, who would have thought?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think the only plus that all of us have, whether it doesn't matter what your viewpoint is on this whole situation, is that we've been through it and we're still in it now. So if we'll know how to deal with it as it comes versus just kind of getting blindsided by something that seems so small and then you
Exactly. Yeah, we were on a cruise ship when it totally started breaking out, when it all broke loose. And we were, I was kind of, my boyfriend was playing on the ship, and I was like, well, it's not really going to happen. And he's like, well, until we get the say so, it's happening. So we got on that ship, and that's when it all broke loose. And we were watching the news on the ship, and that's when it started going crazy, like everybody buying everything off the shelves. It's like we got home to like a Twilight Zone episode. We got home and everything was empty on the shelves, and I'm like, we were scared we were going to get stuck on the ship. And that's when we realized, because I think our ship was the last one to dock in Florida. There were several other ones that were stuck out at sea for a while, so we got really lucky. And then, whew, it was wild. I was just thankful that we got home and we're like, all right, we're taking this very seriously.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't even think about the fact that being on a ship when everything broke out, that, yeah, you could have been quarantined and stuck on that thing.
Yeah, we got very lucky. We just watched all of it happening on the news, and we're like, we're in like the Bahamas and stuff, and we're like, it was strange seeing what was going on at home, and we're so removed. And luckily nobody on that ship, I think maybe one person they said got COVID after, I think the night before we docked. But so we were like, we've got it for sure. And then we had a day in Fort Lauderdale, not realizing it was spring break. And I'm like, oh my God, we gotta leave. Like, we gotta get home. So yeah, it was wild. It was wild when that first started.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. That's such yeah, that must have been a real Twilight Zone episode of coming back to LA and there's no toilet paper anywhere and there's all kinds of weird shit going on.
So we had no groceries, no groceries, no nothing. And we get home and I'm like, what do we do? We can't even, why is everybody going after toilet paper? It's like we were searching for 7-Elevens, like, can we just find 1 or 2 rolls somewhere? And thankfully that's all died down now. Jeez.
Yes, for sure. Because I remember that too. There was like almost felt like there was like a black market for toilet paper at one point.
Yeah.
I'll trade you this for that.
I remember we finally saw a huge thing of it at Walmart, and my boyfriend ran and got some. And then since we had a big thing of it, people were looking at us. I was like, is somebody going to come and just like knock us out for this big thing of toilet paper? Everybody was looking at us like, how'd you get that? It was gone immediately.
Man, it's like some Mad Max kind of stuff.
Zombie apocalypse happens, and better be prepared, because there could be no toilet paper.
So it's interesting to me that whole period of from last year of like, so people do realize at some point we didn't have toilet paper, that wasn't invented. So
I know.
they're using other things.
It is like I never quite understood that one.
Yeah, you and me both. I didn't understand it either.
Like I don't have the space to hoard anything even if I wanted to, so all taken up with gear and animal stuff. So
Okay, well, hey, let's kind of segue into to music, and obviously being a musician, a guitar player, and everything. And if you could kind of bring me back, correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like you kind of got an interest in music and or guitar from your dad.
yeah, actually pretty yeah, my dad played guitar. Both my parents were into rock and music. And so my dad played in a band, and I always kind of loved music. I always loved singing. And my dad got me a guitar when I was around 14. And then I finally decided to pick it up when I heard Nirvana. And it just inspired me to really start playing. And then my mom was the one to always take me to my concerts. So she really, like, when I saw the people on stage, I just was like, I want to be up there, and I can do that. I can do that. So yeah, without my parents, I don't know if I'd have my love for music or have gotten a guitar or gotten the support to do it.
That's interesting. We kind of have that in common in a couple ways. My parents bought me a guitar just because I was into a lot of these rock bands. And then my mom took me and my brother to the concerts before my brother could drive. My older brother could drive. So she went to all these shows. And
Yeah.
sounds like your mom was probably going to shows earlier herself, just being a fan of bands.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my mom was into all the bands, and still today my mom will find out about new bands before I do. Be like, "You need to check this band out. Have you heard this band?" I was like, half of the stuff I've heard because she's turned me on to it. So, we used to have a lot of fun going to shows together.
That's awesome. I'm curious, what were some of the shows that you can think of that you and your mom went to back in the day?
She took me, let's see, she took me to see Evanescence because I somehow won tickets. And that was my first show in the pit, and I was like 13 or 14. So that, especially being that close to the stage, I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Gosh, she took me to to a lot of the Warp tours. Um, took me to see, I believe, did she take me to see Avenged Sevenfold, Papa Roach, and then of course once I got older, Motley Crue. So AC/DC. My dad actually did go to AC/DC because that's his favorite band. So we all went to that one. Alice Cooper. Um, God, there's so many good. Charlotte. So many I can't even remember. A bunch of the radio shows that had all the big bands at the time. So yeah, we used to have a lot of fun going out stuff. And now she just comes out to my shows. So shows, so it's fun.
Yeah, no, that's really fun. The second band I ever saw when I was in sixth grade was AC/DC with my mom and my brother.
Oh wow. I've only seen them on the Black Ice tour. That was the only time I've got to see them. But that was so awesome.
I saw them on that tour. That first show that I saw was the For Those About to Rock tour.
Oh wow.
And I swear I lost some of my hearing at that show because of the.
I bet. You have
Uh,
good Were you close?
we weren't close, but back then, like hearing protection was not a thing
Yeah.
at shows, and we paid the price for it. But the show was great.
Yeah, it took me a while to finally be like, okay, I guess, I need to wear my earplugs because I used to be stubborn too and be like, no, I want to hear everything. Finally, I'm like, okay, I don't want to lose my hearing. I'll wear the earplugs.
Yeah, I think it was. No, I think it actually was Iron Maiden for me in 1986 when I started wearing earplugs.
Oh, yeah. My first Maiden show was on the Book of Souls tour. I never got to see them when I was younger, so I was so excited when I finally got to see that one.
That's all. Have you ever had a chance to meet any of the members?
I haven't, not yet. Hopefully one day.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome. And the book, I saw the Book of Souls tour here as well. I think it played Tacoma, if I remember right. So
Um,
those guys they're still bringing it.
what the last one was, Legacy of the Beast. That one was probably one of the best shows I think I've ever been. That one was incredible.
Yeah, it's weird for me to think back. I mean, it's weird, but it's awesome to think back that I saw them in, that was 1982 on the Beast on the Road, and they were with the Scorpions.
Ah, I could have.
Yeah, and I can only say that because my mom brought me to that show with my brother.
Awesome moms. These awesome moms supporting good music.
Yeah, and I have a feeling my mom's probably watching this live stream right now. She usually watches most of
Um,
them. So since your parents are into music, into shows, and then they got your guitar, it also sounds like you had another artistic talent that you were into, like drawing earlier too.
yeah, that was my first love. I picked that up when I was really little, and that was what just kind of came naturally to me. I was always drawing in school. I was known as the artistic one. I was never really known for music because I would sit in my room and do that on my own. Only my kind of concert friends would know that I would sit and play guitar. But yeah, I try to find time to do it now, but it always shifts back to music. So you would think I would have been drawing more now at home, but it's so time consuming. And then I'm like, oh, I could have been writing a new song. It always goes back to that.
Yeah, well, and it's still there. It's something that whenever it organically feels like you want to start drawing something, then you'll do it.
Yeah.
And I see my mom just made the emoji in the chat. She's Rain City 1. So yeah, hi mom.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm seeing someone saying Power Slave is my favorite Maiden album, and people are talking about my hearing isn't as good now because of they weren't using protection, all kinds of interesting things. But so when you were learning guitar, were you learning being self-taught? Did you take lessons, both?
Yeah, I tried taking lessons after I had already kind of taught myself. I got tab books and then I taught myself from that and then just kind of learned from ear. And then I wanted to take lessons to learn theory because I still don't know theory. And it would always turn into like, okay, let's learn this Metallica song or let's learn this song. And then you learn it and we'll come back and we'll play it. Like, but I can do that on my own. I wanted, it just never stuck. And then I was going to college back and forth. So I just said, I know enough. And if I want to sit down and teach myself one day, which I've been meaning to do, is start learning more theory. So yeah, just pretty much self-taught.
Isn't it interesting when you're taking lessons, what a huge impact that teacher has based on their style or how they do their lessons?
Yeah. I tried with two different people and they were both good friends. One of them was a friend of my dad's who was a phenomenal guitar player. And then another one was a friend of mine. And it was just never had the time for it. And like I said, it just always turned into kind of just jamming, not me learning what I was wanting to learn. So.
Yeah, I had two very, very different guitar teachers when I was starting out. And the first teacher was really, really closed-minded. So he only loved certain artists. So if you brought him something that he didn't really like or kind of look down at, you could tell immediately his whole body language would change. Because this was back in the days when you bring in like a cassette of something and he'd like try to slow it down and learn the parts for you while you're there. And so if I brought in like a Kiss song or something, he'd be like kind of making a face, but he would do it because you're paying him.
Yeah,
but
right.
But at the same time, I'm like, well, that doesn't make me feel very good. That I can clearly tell you don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And then luckily he moved for some reason, and the guy that replaced him was completely the opposite, completely open-minded, loved everything, all different styles of music, even different instruments. And he's where I really started to blossom from the lessons from him. But yeah, it makes a huge difference based on who you have in that.
Yeah.
Are you, like you said, are you getting what you want out of it?
That's a really good point. I've had people say, why don't you give lessons? I can tell you how to play a song, but I can't tell you what scale you're in. And, and I feel like that's probably what a lot of people would want out of lessons.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat because I had done lessons for a very short time, but I always told the students that I can only give you a really basic foundation. And then I'll know when you hit that ceiling because you're probably going to hit it pretty quick with me and I'll have to pass you on to somebody else.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, I could teach you the basics, but that's about it.
Yeah, and thanks, Industrial Girl, for joining. I see that you have to go. And hi, Ken Puckett. Good to see you. They're saying hi to my mom as well. Ken is a huge Maiden fan, huge Iron Maidens fan as well. He's down in Houston, down in the Texas area. So, well, your home state. So,
Yes.
let's see. The question just came in, Nikki. Please ask her which Diamonds and Rust cover version is her favorite, or is it the original one by Joan Baez?
Oh, I gotta say, I really love the Priest cover. That one's probably my favorite. Um, I don't really know any other versions besides the one that we just kind of like made kind of like a cowboy acoustic version. Uh, but I do like the Joan Baez one too. I was never really honestly that familiar with the original, to be honest, until we covered it and did the Judas Priest one. And I went back and listened to that one. And I was like, oh, this one's great. You know, I love that one too.
Okay, Queen Radiant. There you go. There's your answer to the question. I'm actually kind of in the similar boat. What other maybe Queen can tell us what other versions are there besides the Priest one and the original? I don't really know. Maybe
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
yeah, I'm not sure either. But yeah, getting back to what we were talking about, that I know you went to college, and it sounded like you were going to maybe try to pursue music in college, but then you went to the next closest thing, which was the film, radio, TV. Is that fairly accurate?
Yeah, that was once again, I wanted to do music, obviously, and I went to UT in Arlington. I just went to ask them about the music program, and I played for them. And they're like, well, you're a really good guitar player, but you're going to be so far behind in this program because you don't know the theory. And basically, you're going to have no life because you're going to be catching up to people that know all of it. And I was like, oh, no, you said no life. That no, thanks. Because I like to go to concerts and I like to, you know, like to have a life a little bit. So I was like, okay, that's not for me. So I went to UT in Austin because I heard that that was the live music capital, supposedly, of the United States, whatever. So I went there thinking I could meet some people and be in bands or whatever. And I majored in radio, TV, and film with a minor in business. And I did that basically because it was kind of the closest thing. And I didn't really know what else I'd want to do. And I knew they had a program that would allow me, if I got accepted into the internship program, to move to Los Angeles in my last semester and intern out there. So that was kind of my end game, was do well enough, get into that program, and then make the move to LA and music that way. And somehow it all worked out. I'm still shocked at how it all fell into place. Because half the time in college, I was either sitting in my room playing guitar or I was driving around with my friends to go see concerts. And then come home and finish writing my papers on quadruple Starbucks lattes and energy drinks and finishing my papers and turning them all in. Like, but it was a fun time.
Do you see yourself either now or in the future incorporating anything from the film, TV, radio degree that you got into what you're doing now?
I really loved a lot of the film stuff. Um, I enjoyed the editing and everything, and I kind of edit some of our stuff that we have going on, but I don't have the programs that all the Final Cut and everything that I worked on then. But I'd love to if I had the chance. Definitely would be open to it.
Okay, and how did your minor in business help you? I have a feeling that probably helps you quite a bit. I would think, just in terms of steering your career and your choices.
Yeah, like I took a lot of marketing. Um, I took sports and entertainment marketing in high school, so I took a lot of marketing, accounting, a bunch of stuff. I was pretty much a nerd in school. It wasn't all it's just the quiet artistic nerd. Um, I actually worked at the PV Hollywood store when they had it open here. I was actually there the whole time it was open. I helped them open it and then it shut down. I helped do all of the social media and I ran the whole like business side of the store. I did all the accounting. I did all of that fun behind the scenes stuff. So I kind of had my hands in everything, the marketing. And so I run several social media things, and yeah, it did help me a lot.
Okay. And do you do anything with like with the Maidens right now in terms of any of that marketing or social media, or just kind of a little bit of input within the band?
Oh, I pretty much do run a lot of the maiden socials, but right now it's just there's not much up there content wise, as you know, since we don't have many things going on. We do have a CD that's being mixed. So once that kind of gets going, I'll be promoting the hell out of that. But
Okay.
yeah,
Do you have a rough timeline of when that CD might be seeing the light of day?
I, we're hoping by the end of the year. We're hoping by the end of the year. It's just got to be mixed and mastered and finalized. We got to still do the artwork. It's just hard to get everything done with COVID since none of us can see each other. You know, we all live around LA, but none of us really live close to each other.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know even like with the Alice folks that I don't know exactly how close they live to each other in LA, but then their guitar player who was helping with the live stream stuff, I mistakenly thought that, oh, he can just do it anytime, right? Because he just turns on his computer system and all the other things. And I realized, no, the computer system was at the drummer's house because that's where they streamed everything from. So he has to go drive there and like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like you plan your whole schedule based on what time of the day it is here. Like we all mile wise, it's all pretty close, but just the freeways to get around downtown are just it could take all day sometimes. Good old LA.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And again, even up here in Seattle, I think we were like voted like third worst traffic in the nation.
Really.
Which, yeah, I believe it because we've had such an influx of high tech workers because of Amazon and Microsoft's already been here and Google's here and Facebook's here, and so all these people are coming here to live, and the infrastructure can't support it.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
like great.
You have people coming in and we have people leaving this place. So,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
and they're. I bet you some of those people leaving are coming up here.
Yep. Probably you'll put a lot more. They're going there. A lot of people are moving to Texas, I think, and Florida.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I see that Queen, thank you for doing that. She said that there's a really good version from Blackmore's Night. So Richie Blackmore's Night does a cover of Diamonds and Rust. So I'll have to check that out later.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Yeah. Um, so when you did the internship, that was with Warner Brothers, was that correct?
Yeah, I actually the first one I started was with a talent agency called Roar, and it was in downtown Beverly Hills, and I had to get totally dressed up, and it was not really what I wanted. And then I got the call from Warner Brothers. So I was like, oh, I'm going to do that one. And I worked in the digital distribution department. And basically, what I did was I would get all of the music on the computers ready to upload for iTunes and for all the digital distributors. So I did a lot of that. My supervisor was really cool. They'd have bands come and play. So she'd come and pull me at the end of the day. Hey, come on, there's a band playing. I was like, this is my internship. This is awesome. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun there too. A lot of cool people. I would have loved to have stayed working there, but they didn't have any spots open. And then after that, I started touring pretty heavily. So then it was hard to keep a real job. How often we're gone.
Right, right. Well, and that's a nice I guess a nice problem to have. I mean that you were touring so much and gone. It's like, well, now I get to do this other thing that I love. So
Yeah, that's a happy problem to have.
yeah, and I'm curious about your work with the Maidens because I know they've had different members over the years and they've been around a long time.
Yeah.
And then, so did you kind of already know some of the members and they asked you to kind of help out with a couple of shows, or did you just distinctly say, I want to join you, or how did this kind of come to be?
Yeah, it all kind of just fell into place after I moved out here. I think they've been around since 2001. I think this was year 20. I think this was the 20th anniversary of the Maidens this year. So I had moved out here. I went to NAM and I met a bunch of people through Schecter, and I got into a band, like a local band here that had just formed called Before the Morning. And it was a bunch of dudes that kind of knew everybody. It's the scene is so small out here in LA, everybody knows everything. I really learned that fast. It's crazy. So I was hanging out with them, and they were good friends with Courtney, the one of the guitar players, and Nita, who was one of the rotating guitar players at the time. So at the time, they had Nita Strauss and Neely Brosh on the Dave Murray position, and both of them had their own bands going on. So they would kind of rotate them out whenever they were available. And I guess both of them got busy for this one gig here in California. And so they asked me to fill in for that one. And then so after that, I got thrown into the mix of, so it was the three ins, the Nita, Neely, Nikki. It's like, it was always confusing. Nobody ever knew who anybody who anybody was. So then it just kind of, fell to me and Nita, and then eventually, Nita did Alice Cooper, and I just took over full time.
Okay, and we're going to get back to what you just talked about. But a question came in saying they're wondering if you have favorite guitarists and or influences.
Yeah, there's a ton of them. Obviously Nirvana, Avenged Sevenfold, Pantera, Dimebag, so Kurt Cobain, Sinister Gates, Dimebag. Obviously Iron Maiden had a big influence on me. AC/DC. There's so many bands. For some of the newer bands, I love Scar Symmetry. Per Nilsson's a crazy guitar player. System of a Down a lot when I was younger. I have a big variety. Evanescence vocally, I used to really loved her voice. She influenced me a lot. That's to name a few.
Okay, well there you go, Queen. There's your answer to your great question. Thanks for asking that. And Nikki, when you're talking about becoming the permanent player for the Dave Murray part of or role of the Maidens,
Yeah.
is it something where you're, I don't want to say stuck in that role, but if you wanted to be the Adrian role, could you do it?
Yeah, that's actually, I love his guitar playing as well. A lot of people say that they can't tell the difference in the guitar players, and I think their styles are very distinct. Adrian has more kind of, I wouldn't say bluesy. How would you describe it? More melodic, maybe. And Dave Murray uses so much legato, hammer-ons, and pull-offs. Which wasn't initially my kind of style of playing. I was usually just more of a like a I used to do a lot of arpeggios. I used to do a lot of just fast picking. And so with the Dave Murray position, I really had to be like, okay, this is kind of different from the way that I usually play. So if I had to have picked, Adrian probably would have been the one that would have kind of suited me as a player more. But the Dave Murray thing has really made me kind of branch out as a guitar player.
Okay, all right. And just off the top of my head, is there any plan, or maybe the band's already done that, to have that Yannick Gers role?
No, not in the future. I don't think so. Because sometimes really the places that we play, there's not really room for a Yannick. And I mean, for some of the big festivals, that'd be cool, but no plans for that in the future. Maybe if we have somebody sit in and play, which that's happened before, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. Again, I saw Maiden back in 1982, and I just remember when he joined, when it was he and Dave, because Adrian had left. And people can hate me all they want. I've never been a fan of his.
Yeah, yeah. He's definitely the showman.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, to his credit, I remember when he joined, he said he was used to always being the lead guitar player, not playing with another guitar player. So it was a while for him to get used to playing with Dave.
Oh,
And it made sense when I heard that in an interview. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. If it's used to being like in a four-piece and he's the only guitar player, and now
yeah.
there's this other guy and they're used to doing harmonies and all these other kind of melodies, you kind of have to back off your role a little bit. And yeah, he's quite the showman, and I think he's fit in better now, but it's just taken a while.
Okay, I got you. I can see.
Yeah. And someone saying Yannick is so amazing. Okay. Well, yeah, then that's fine. I understand if people are fans of his. I just wasn't one of them and early on. But again, I'm fine with them now. They're an amazing band, one of the biggest influences on anything that I do. But speaking of, with the Maidens, is there? Do you find that does the band get together in terms of like, here's the set list we're going to do? Does it vary from show to show, or to kind of do the same set list for like a string of shows and then you switch it up?
Totally depends on the situation. Linda, our drummer, she kind of always has she's the set list master. So she picks the set list for the shows. And if it's a place we haven't played before, then we do kind of a greatest hits set list. And if we've played that place twice, then she keeps track of everything and she makes sure we play different songs for that one. So we'll play basically like we'll still play several of the big hits, but then she adds in all different songs to keep it interesting and fresh for people that want to come out several times. And then you get into the situation like in Europe where we're on tour for like 4 to 6 weeks and we're playing some of the places, but then we're playing places that we never have. So then the set list changes from night to night. Or we'll have alternate songs. And if, some people are having wrist pains or, like you start feeling a little fatigued from some songs, we switch them out based on what we feel like that night. But we always try and keep it interesting for people, keep it different.
Okay. And so knowing that, like you were mentioning, it's like if you played a venue before, or if it's like, there's a couple shows in a row, are there any like deep cuts for yourself personally of Maiden's catalog that you have played that you really like playing or that you want to see the band play?
Yeah, we actually have, during this COVID time, talked about adding a few new ones, so that'll be exciting. One of the deep cuts that we added not too long ago is Monsegur, and a lot of people don't know that one. It's off Dance of Death. That one is so fun to play, and it's pretty heavy, and so we're all excited to play it. And then some people just kind of look like, what's that song? But then they start bobbing their heads. That one's one of my favorite, really deeper cuts. What is Genghis Khan's fun? So we try and add a lot of the deeper cuts. We've been playing Ghost of the Navigator, The Klansman. God, see, it's been so long since we played. I have to think. I used to not have to think about the songs. I'm like, what songs do we play? Yeah, that's a few of them.
Okay. Yeah, no. And yeah, thank you, COVID, for having us forget things that we should know like the back of our hand.
I'm like, wait, what songs do we play again?
Yeah, and I'm seeing Ken saying, Nikki, thank you guys for playing tracks such as Alexander the Great. It's much appreciated to us hardcore Maiden fans.
Oh, that's one of my favorite ones too, Alexander the Great.
Yeah. But and on the flip side of it, are any of the hits where you go like, man, I'm gonna do it, and I still like the song, but it's getting a little long in the tooth for me.
I hate to say it, but the one song that and everybody loves is Run to the Hills. That one gets it's fun to play, but the rest of them, Number of the Beast, Trooper, it's all great, and I love playing them. And we sound check with the Trooper, and so it doesn't ever really get old.
Okay, and as you're playing the Dave Murray role, do you have kind of the leniency to like put in your own flavor as a guitarist, or do you kind of really try to like, I don't know, I'm not saying the band dictates to you, but that you have to kind of like try to mimic his role as much as possible?
Yeah, I think with Courtney as well, I think we both try to keep it as similar to them as possible. Like when we play the solos, we pretty much play what they play, but you can't help but put a little bit of yourself into it. I think that's just a little inevitable. You got to put a little bit of your heart, your own self into it.
Yeah, and it makes sense because you're a musician, you're an artist, and after a while, if you did exactly everything, without putting some of yourself into it, I don't think it would be very fun anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And there's been some bands, like maybe cover bands or whatever. You go as a guitar player on some solos, the ones that you really love, there's certain notes and certain bends that really just hit you a certain way. And when I go see a band live and they don't play it that way, I'm like, I'm waiting for that note, and then they don't hit it, and it's like, oh man, they didn't play that part. So that's why I really keep it as similar as possible.
That's awesome that you recognize that, because I'm the same way, and I've seen several. It could be a cover band, could be a tribute band, and if there's a certain solo, certain even like a little quirky thing in a song, it's like, are they going to do it the way that I love it, and are they going to just kind of gloss over it? And when they hit it, it's like yes, and when
Yeah,
they don't, it's like oh.
yeah, because I've seen, and even just the regular band sometimes, like the real band. I'm like, yes, it's gonna be this part, and then oh, they didn't do that. Oh man. So, and I know Maiden fans are so hardcore. You know, they want to hear it that way. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm thinking about when you're talking about the actual bands too. There's one guitar player who I really like. I still like him to this day, but and I won't mention his name. But I saw him live back in the day in the '80s, and every solo that was so classic, he just like was just shredding all over them. He wasn't playing them.
that drives, yeah, that's one thing that's a pet peeve of mine. Yeah, that there's else that I'm thinking of too, but I won't say that does that. But yeah.
Yeah, I was like, no, I understand if you want to extend the solo, or maybe like one song you do that, or that's fine. But like every song, it was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I totally know what you're talking about.
Oh man. Um, and so, and then how did the Heavens Below gig come about?
It's once again, everybody kind of knows everybody here. Patrick, who is a singer guitar player, I had been friends with him for a long time through everybody at Schecter. There was like a live karaoke thing that our friend Schecter puts on in it used to be in North Hollywood. And we'd go there and we'd play all the time. And then, he turned me on to his band, Heaven Below, and I started listening. I was like, this is such a good band, and we'd all go out to each other's shows. He'd come to the Maiden shows. I'd go to the Heaven Below shows. And then they lost their guitar player, Lucas. He decided to focus on a different band of his own. And so Patrick asked me to start filling in. He's like, can you start, learn these songs? And I'm like, yeah, I love the music. It's a little different. It's a little more challenging. And so I was really stoked to do that. And then it just kind of turned into playing some shows to actually working on the new albums, and turned once again, like the Maidens, turned into a full-time thing.
Wow, that's awesome. I guess this is like a testament to networking, and also putting yourself out there when you're meeting people.
Yeah, it's such a tight-knit group of people here. Everybody's just friends, and everybody supports everybody. So it's really cool.
That that's nice to hear. It kind of reminds me of like the press and media group up here in Seattle. I've learned so much from people like Mike Savoya and Neil Limsang and all these guys that who I think know you from the Monsters of Rock cruises and all these other kind of things that they do.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I met Mike, he actually turned around to me, and I was like, oh, because I was a fan of his work. I knew him from the radio station and everything here locally. And he's like, oh, I love that interview you did with Todd from Queensryche. And I'm like, how does he even know who I am?
Oh.
And now we've shared many photo pits together and all that kind of thing. So it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to hear about Harmonies for the Haunted, your solo work, because not only from the music, the guitar playing side, but also from the vocal side. I want to hear some background about that, please.
I had been wanting to put out a solo EP for a long time, and I kind of had bits and pieces of songs going and was constantly kind of touring at the time. So I was piecing things together painfully slow. And finally, I just sat down. I'm like, this is going to happen. I want to show people me. I wanted it to all kind of be me. So I just started getting on my laptop, and I would do a rough thing of the drums. And I decided I was going to do bass for the first time. I never played bass in my life. I got a bass guitar, did the bass, did the lyrics, did all of it. I went to my friend Jesse Bilson, who used to play in Heaven Below, actually. And now he's just a awesome producer. So we had to coordinate our schedules to make that work. So he kind of did all the drums. I was like, here's a rough idea, so you get just a idea of the song. Make the drums badass for me, and make it sound like a real drummer played these. And so he did the drums for me, and we tracked guitars, bass, and then Patrick from Heaven Below, he did my vocals. He produced my vocals and everything. And that was the first time that I had really sang like you played a little bit of my song as Chaos Consumes, and that was actually the first song that I had done, but it was not really done pro. It was my first time really doing anything like that. So Patrick is a really just amazing vocalist himself. So he was kind of giving me tips on how to sing and, do it this way. Oh, because I had all of the lyrics and harmonies in my head, or the way they go. And so he helped me arrange them and kind of work them out to where they really worked. And it was all a huge learning experience to me. And I wanted to do a full length, but I just really wanted to get this out, because I had been talking about it for so long. So now I'm on to a full length. And now this full length, now that I've kind of showed that I can do all of that, and that's exactly all me, I want to probably bring on some people, do some guest solos, and just have some friends on it and just have fun with it.
Okay, no, and that makes sense. That with the EP, that here's kind of like your personal project. Here's everything that I want to kind of have out there that represents me,
Yeah.
and then now I can kind of almost in some ways kind of loosen it up a bit for the full length.
Yeah.
And
I did it with no expectations. I've always loved singing and always been kind of shy with it. And I was just like, you know what? If people don't like it, they don't like it. That's fine. I'm doing this for me. And luckily a lot of people liked it. A lot of people responded great to it. And I still have people being like, I didn't know you sing. So it's still every day. It's cool that people actually like my voice. So my only regret is I didn't do it sooner.
yeah, no, I think a lot of people like your voice, and I'm curious on the new full length. Is there going to be anything where you're not playing guitar but strictly singing? Like, can you see yourself live singing without a guitar on you?
Yeah, I've thought about that. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I have many amazing guitarist friends, so there may be a song where I just have somebody play guitar and maybe I'll just sing. It's a possibility. I am thinking I will probably do at least one instrumental song. One instrumental song maybe at the end of the album.
Okay, all right. That sounds um, like something for everyone, all the fans out here to look forward to. I know I'm already looking forward to based on what you just said.
I No, I am too. I need to get just focused on it again.
And a question came up about the gear that you're using currently. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. I think, don't you have a signature model guitar being designed, built, or where are we with that?
Yeah, I actually have my second one now.
Okay.
So it's available. It's Schecter guitar. It's pretty similar to the first one that I have with a few changes. It's got a lighter body because that first one was so heavy. It was killing me to play live shows every night with it. It's got some good weight to it. It's a little bit lighter. It's got different pickups. I was using Seymour Duncan's, and now I'm using a Schecter pickup. They kind of made one based off of an Invader that I was using. So I have a Sustainiac in that. So I have my Schecter, and I'm using a Kemper profiler. I've been using that for a few years, and that's just saved. Sorry, somebody always has to get in the camera. This is Rolo. I've been using that for years, and it's just been a life changer on the road because you have your exact sound everywhere you go. You just plug in, and it's the same. It's so nice. You don't have to worry about backline, about what head you're gonna have that night. It's so nice. I know a lot of people always ask me what my pedal board setup looks like, but I don't have one because I just have the Kemper. So it's pretty simple now.
Nice. That's nice to be able to rely on and know that you have that peace of mind that wherever you're playing, you'll have your sound.
Yes, and it's so light. I travel with it, put it on the plane. It's above my seat. So it's a life changer, and it sounds great. A lot of people think that it's a modeler, that it doesn't sound the same as a tube amp. But if you put them side by side and you close your eyes and just listen, you can't really tell the difference if you're using the right profile.
Nice. And I'm curious, how old is Rolo?
He is 4. Are you 4? Yeah, he's 4.
And does Rolo have siblings, like some furry siblings around too?
Yeah, he has 2 kitty sisters, and they're both 7 and 7 and 6.5, I believe. So he's the young one. And he have puppy friends that live around that he gets to see every day.
Nice. Have you always been an animal person?
Yeah. It's funny. I was always a cat person until Rolo came into my life, and he totally changed my life. Now I'm a dog person too. So I don't know what I would do without him.
Nice. There's so many. It's probably really the majority of guests that I've had on. Many pets have made appearances during.
If I was at my house, my cats would definitely be in the picture too. On the couch, and I have one here and one over here. Yeah, they love the camera too.
Nice. Yeah. It's. I was just thinking that there was an interview I did. Yeah, last week. Bennick was the little furry dog that came.
It's usually he's in my lap the whole time and just, yeah, he's in his bed right now. So I don't give him enough treats to be on the camera. He doesn't get paid enough.
It's got to work its way up there.
Yeah, I got to pay him more.
And how did you get involved with Schecter guitars from the beginning?
I've been playing them since I was 14 because several of my favorite bands played them.
Oh.
They were my dream company. That's all I've ever played. And so I just started putting up YouTube videos of me covering songs, in my room. And it was YouTube was kind of new at the time, at least with people just playing guitar. It wasn't what it is now. So I would just get, my little amp and play along and, post pictures of my Schecter. And then I had hit them up on Facebook when I was going to NAMM saying I would love to meet them. And that's how it all started. They said, come by. And, they had seen my stuff on YouTube, and I went every day and just made friends with everybody. And they actually gave me my first real job in California. I was a receptionist there for about a couple of months until I started once again needing to take off work to go tour. So yeah, and now they're like family. It's the best company.
That's awesome. And what was that feeling like when you had your first signature model being made by them? I mean, was this kind of like, is this real kind of a moment?
Yeah, I was speechless. I'm like, what? I'm still speechless today. I look on my wall and the two are up there, and I still can't really believe that that's my guitar. It's got my name on it. Like that was a dream come true every day.
Yeah, I think for any musician out there, I mean, if you're playing, especially in your case, if you're playing that brand in your formative years and coming up with it, and you see the bands that you like, they're playing it, and then now you have your own actual model from that company. Wow.
I still, every day. I mean, that was that beyond my wildest dreams growing up. I never would have thought that one day I'd have one too, alongside some of my favorite artists. I'm like, really? Yeah, I still pinch myself about it.
Is there any chance that the Kemper folks are going to come knocking, or you come knocking on their door to maybe do something?
Oh, with Kemper? Oh, yeah. I don't think so. I I'm not a total gear nerd. I have not actually profiled anything myself. I have very talented friends like Mike Spreitzer from Devil Driver. He's sent me his pack of profiles, which are killer. So I kind of rely on my really good, guitar nerd friends to give me their tones, and then I tweak.
Okay, what kind of strings are you using?
GHS strings. I use the boomers. I use 9 to 42 usually.
Okay, and a type of picks?
I use Pick Guy guitar picks. He makes it's amazing the details he can fit in those little tiny jazz 3 picks that I use. Actually, Rolo's face will probably be on the next one. The next one that I have. I think it's gonna be Rolo, and then my cat's on the other ones. That's the plan. He's like, put Rolo on a pick. Put Rolo on a pick. Like, oh, all right, it's happening. It's happening.
That's awesome. So that means if people get a pick in the audience, then they might have Rolo or one of your cats.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. Can't wait to have live shows again so I can throw out Rolo's face.
Yeah, and then I can see it now. People will start after they're at a gig. If they got a pic, then they'll start putting it on social media. And you see these pics everywhere.
Lucy, Luna, and Rolo, the three, gotta come to 3 shows so you can get them all.
Yeah, and I, oh, the question that came in, we actually kind of touched on that. I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but they were asking about how you guys select what songs you want to play, and you were kind of talking about that earlier about depending on the shows and if you've been there before, and if we have a lot of shows in a row, and if you're in Europe or where you're at. So yeah, Nikki did kind of mention that. So if you go back and rewatch it, hey, then you can hear that. So just want to make sure I'm not ignoring people's questions. So Nikki, just to kind of wrap this up, even though with the situation that we're all in, are there some things that you can promote that are coming up within, like to say, the next 6 months or so?
Yeah, let's see. I've done a couple of collaborations with other artists. I believe this should be coming out in a couple of weeks. I played guitar on a ballad for Sarah Baldwin. She is an amazing musician, plays guitar, bass, sings. She has her own project coming out as kind of a solo artist. So if you look her up, her name is Sarah Baldwin, and she sings. It's a ballad. And our friend Kat Scarlett played piano. I used to play with Kat in Femme Fatale. Crazy, amazing pianist. And Emily V is on violin. So it's a beautiful ballad about suicide awareness. And so I played a guitar solo at the end of the song, and we kind of each, filmed a little bit. For a video for a COVID friendly video. So that's being put together. So that song's going to come out, I believe, in a few weeks, and the video will be as too. And I collaborated on another project, but I don't have anything that I can announce on that yet. I think that'll be out in the next 6 months, I believe. Yeah, that's kind of it at the moment. I'll be working on my album. I'm actually going to do a Patreon account for people to follow the new album, the production, because social media is so limiting. I always have people asking like, well, when does your album come out? I'm like, oh, it came out 2019. Social media is just it's hard to reach everybody. So I decided I'll do Patreon. So I'm working on that right now. Heaven Below is actually working on a greatest hits album, and it's going to have some cool stuff on there. And like I said, the Maidens album should hopefully be out this summer, or not this summer, this year. Wishful thinking in my head this summer. So this year. So hopefully just tons of new music.
That's awesome. Yeah, that you have so many things that you have coming up, and they're probably coming up in different parts of this year. So that helps out too. That you kind of have something here, and here, and
yeah. So just
um,
keep busy.
yeah, and I love the idea that you're going to kind of jump on to the Patreon platform, because I know there's one artist that I started following. Well, not following, but I've been a fan of hers for a while. But she grabbed on to Patreon at the right time, because it's right when COVID hit last year. She had just started maybe like a month before, and then so now it's just watching her really interact with her fans and being able to do like previews of things, and all of her Patreon followers, and that thing has just grown. I don't know how many people are a part of it now, so it's a really smart way to do it, especially considering what we're in.
Yeah, that's I was unsure about it at first, then I started looking at what friends are doing, and I'm like, you know what, it's a really cool way to actually make sure you get to interact with people. And so I was like, why not? We'll give it a shot. We'll see how it goes. And that way people can have an input and kind of see all the behind the scenes things that it's difficult to put out on social media.
Yeah, and just like everybody knows that I think we've learned during this time, musicians need to make a living. They are anyone who's an artist. I think we really learned, for those that even aren't into or the arts or what have you, that we need the arts around. And when it got taken away from us, people have to realize this is how people make a living. It's how they pay their bills. It's how they do things. It's not just all this, you're not Metallica who's got millions of dollars in the bank account. It's like, no, people out, this is what they work for. So when it got taken away, there's got to be other revenue streams.
Exactly. I think a lot of people don't realize that, music streams, just streaming music, an artist doesn't really see anything from that, see fractions of a cent. And, I've told some people that, and they're like, are you serious? Really? So I still buy CDs. I still buy physical merch from bands. And, a lot of people, I've been really surprised that a lot of people still love buying CDs and physical media to support their bands, which is really awesome. I had no idea people were still so into that. So there's made me think that there's hope.
Yeah, I just had a symposium last week with three young up and coming female artists who are like between 15 and 23, and
Wow.
I said the same thing to them. I said, "Are any of you planning on doing any kind of physical release or any kind of merch, a T-shirt, something? Because people like me want to buy it."
Exactly. At first, I was very unsure of doing all that. And yes, people, I've had to reorder CDs because I had no idea how many to order when I first did the CD. I was like, is anybody going to want to buy a CD? And then I was like, oh man, I have to reorder to keep reordering. It's great. So,
Yeah, we're out there, and it's interesting too to kind of see it's starting to filter down to some of the younger generation.
yeah,
And so maybe their parents were playing CDs or something, and then they went to the streaming thing. And then they also kind of get their awareness about, oh, so you mean my artist is not really getting much from all the Spotify plays that I do? Maybe I should go back and do what my parents did, which is listen to these CDs or buy a T-shirt, buy whatever.
exactly. Exactly. Artists, everybody's, I think, so used to getting music free now in a way. And I think people are finally starting to realize, people can't make music if that's gonna be the way it is all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if you want to support your artists and the people that you like Nikki, then you guys kind of in some ways putting the money where your mouth is, instead of just sitting back and just letting stuff play for for not even a penny, per stream.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Oh, goodness. But Nikki, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really enjoyed talking with you and learning more about you. And I wish you every success with every project you got coming up this year. And if there's ever any time that you want to come on and do an update or talk about something that's ready to drop, then I would be more than happy to do it.
Oh, for sure. When anything new comes out, I'll let you know. And I'd love to do this again.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And stay safe down there. Take care. People that are watching, thank you for watching everything. And hopefully you take care as well.
Yeah,
And yeah, we'll see everybody hopefully sooner than later. And hopefully we'll see Nikki live on a stage somewhere.
fingers crossed. Hopefully, in
All right.
person.
Yes. All right. Have a good rest of your, I guess, afternoon and evening down there. Well, we're on the same coast. What am I talking about?
I'm like, it's usually somewhere else, but yeah. Have a good day.
Awesome. All right. Take care.
Thanks. You too. Bye, guys.